All right, let's talk about something that hits home for, well, pretty much everyone. It's a problem we all have to deal with at some point. What do you do when your first choice, your big, amazing plan for your life, just doesn't pan out? How do you handle life's second best?
I mean, really think about that for a second. That dream career, that path you were so sure was yours, what happens when that door just slams shut in your face? It's a moment we all go through, and honestly, how we handle it can change everything that happens next.
You know, this quote from the artist James Whistler, it has such a great story behind it. He actually started out at West Point, totally set on being a soldier, but he failed chemistry. That one failure completely derailed his military career. And yet, that exact setback is what pushed him to pick up a paintbrush and become, well, one of the most famous painters in the world.
And Whistler's story just perfectly nails the core idea we're exploring here. Here's the truth. Almost nobody gets to live their life exactly according to Plan A. We're all navigating our Plan B, our Plan C, maybe even our Plan D. And you know what? That's not failure. It's just being human. So, to really get a handle on how to master this, we're going to look at one of the most incredible examples in all of history of someone handling a second best, the story of the Apostle Paul and a journey that literally changed the course of the world. Let's break this down into a simple metaphor. Paul had a plan. His Bithynia was this big, wealthy, influential province. Getting his message there, that was the dream. That was the perfect plan. But for whatever reason, the path was blocked. So instead, he was forced to go to Troas, this little nothing port town. This was his detour, his broken plan, his second best. You can just imagine how disappointing that must have been. But this is the pivot point. It was right there, in that place of disappointment, Troas, that Paul has a vision of a man calling him to Macedonia. And that detour, that led him to bring his message to all of Europe. His greatest, most world-changing work came directly from the leftovers of a broken plan. He wanted Bithynia, but the world needed him to go through Troas. And you know what? This pattern isn't just a one-off story. History is absolutely packed with people whose greatest moments were born from their biggest failures. Let's look at a couple more. So meet Phillips Brooks. His Bithynia, his huge ambition, was to be a teacher. He got out of college, jumped right into it, 100% convinced that this was his life's calling. And he was terrible at it. I mean, he didn't just struggle a bit. He failed completely. He got fired, was totally humiliated, and felt completely lost. This was his Troas, a moment of absolute professional collapse. I mean, just listen to his own words from that time. The guy was devastated. But it was that failure, that horrible Troas, that pushed him into the ministry, where he became one of the most famous and beloved preachers of his entire generation. He found his true calling in the ashes of his first dream. And we see this same kind of pattern with Sir Walter Scott. His Bithynia, poetry. He had this dream of becoming the greatest poet in all of Scotland, the voice of his nation. But then, this other guy shows up on the scene, Lord Byron. And Byron was like a literary rock star. His fame just exploded, and it totally eclipsed Scott. Suddenly, Scott found himself in a trough of artistic jealousy and feeling like a total has-been. Scott even admitted it himself. He basically said, yeah, that guy's on another level. I can't compete. So what did he do? He pivoted. He started writing novels, almost as a side project, and published them anonymously. And through that second choice, he gave us masterpieces like Ivanhoe, and became a literary giant, way more successful than he ever was as a poet. Okay, so we've seen the problem, we've seen the pattern in all these amazing lives. So the big question is, how do we do it? How do we turn our own personal Troas from a place of defeat into a launch pad for victory? Well, it seems to come down to two keys. It really boils down to these two simple but incredibly powerful steps. First, you have to believe there's a purpose, even in the setback. And second, you have to shift your focus away from your own disappointment and onto who you can help. Let's break those down. So that first key is this faith in a bigger purpose. Paul didn't see Troas as just some random, meaningless dead end. He believed he was there for a reason. Just like these other figures, from Joseph in the Old Testament to the missionary Adoniram Judson, they all held on to this conviction that the setback wasn't an accident. And that belief is what keeps your eyes open to new opportunities. Because think about it, what's the alternative to purpose? It's self-pity. We get stuck in what the source calls ifing. If only I'd gotten that job. If only my original plan had worked out. It's just this endless loop of regret that leaves you stranded in your Troas, totally blind to any new doors that might be opening right in front of you.
And this brings us right to that second key, and this quote just nails it. When Paul was in his Troas, instead of getting bogged down in his own disappointment, he started thinking about other people. And then he sees that vision of the man crying out, "Come over and help us." That cry for help gave him a brand new mission. It gave him strength.
I mean, look at the story of William Duncan. He was sent to this remote, absolutely miserable island off the coast of Alaska, a true Troas if there ever was one. But instead of just giving up, he focused all his energy on the needs of the indigenous people living there. 40 years later, that place was transformed. They had homes, schools, a thriving community. All because one man, in his darkest place of disappointment, decided to help someone else. All right, let's bring all this home. We've seen the principle, we've seen the stories, we have the 2 keys to victory. So the really important question is, what does this all mean for you, right here, right now? There's this fantastic point made in the source material. It's like trying to walk a narrow plank high up in the air. The physical act itself isn't all that hard, but people fall because their imagination takes over and they picture themselves falling. It's the exact same thing with our setbacks. If you land in your Troas and all you can imagine is defeat, well, then you will be defeated. Your mindset, your imagination, is the whole ballgame. And the source wraps up with the ultimate example of this principle. For the followers of Jesus, the crucifixion was the final trobolos. It was the absolute catastrophic end of their dream. It looked like the worst failure imaginable. And yet, in their tradition, that ultimate broken plan was transformed into the central symbol of triumph and hope. So we end on this. Right now, you're in some kind of Troas. We all are. A place you didn't plan on being, dealing with something you never would have chosen. And the lesson from all these stories is crystal clear. The way forward isn't to look inward at your own disappointment, it's to look outward. The question isn't, why me? The question is, who needs my help?